Okay, so let's just do this one where we pace. So just really trying to get the bowed leg feeling, the bandy feeling. The leg isn't simply allowing me to sink into it. The leg is trying to pull me down to the ground. So just sinking. So as you're going down, it's as though you're extending out and down. And then as you come up, you're drawing something up the middle. So you're like a pump, using the legs to pump energy up from the ground. The legs are breathing the ground. So we have to catch how to use the muscles. So mind continuous. I'm coming up, but there's part of my mind is ahead of myself. Part of my mind is already bending the legs to go down. Part of my mind is already extending upwards. So the action is continuous. It's two phases, but they're very much knit together. And that knitting requires spirit. Trying your best to relax across the sacrum. Let's just bring it back. The difficulty is letting it become energetic. To do that, we just need to keep the ends open. It needs to be an open-ended process. Physically, so I've got to just relax here, relax in my feet, so that I can feel like there's a continuous sinking, a continuous streaming down. but also within time. That's the mind continuous. There's part of my mind that's just driving through. And that does require a certain fierceness in the spirit and the mind. Fighting spirit. Okay, now let's just bring it up into something that's more comfortable. Again, with the legs bent. And now let's just try that breathing exercise. Breathing in, breathing out. Let the spine bow a little bit. Breathing in, let the spine extend. So the sacrum and tail are pushing down, top of my spine pushing up, and then breathe out. All the way down. And just repeating. So breathing in, breathing out, in, and out. Feel the air. Feel the resistance of the air. Not just your arms moving against the air, but also the air trying to get into your lungs through these narrow passages of the nostrils or the small hole in the mouth. Breathing in as you come up and out. Breathing out as you come in or down. Now let's just try a little bit of bending. Feel the head just drooping over to the side, pulling you over. Let the head turn a little bit, like you're trying to look upwards. There's always part of you that's trying to look upwards, always part of you engaged in prayer. Now let's just change the feet again so they're not quite the same distance apart. And now we'll just try the other breathing one. Consider your three centers. You've got your dantian, got your heart, and you've got the midbrain. So between the eyes, really. So this is a breathing exercise to activate each of those centers in turn. So I'll show you physically what happens. I just lift my arms up the front, and then I take the arms out to the side, and then I bring the arms up above my head, and then I slowly bring them down. So very similar to the previous one we did. But what we do for each of these three phases, there's an in-breath. So a short in-breath, 3 short in-breaths, followed by an out-breath. For each in-breath, I just breathe into a different center. So as my arms come up the front, I breathe into my belly, so breathing in. And then I breathe into the heart. And then here I breathe into the head. And then I slowly let them out. So passing down from the head to the heart to the belly. Breathing into the belly, breathing into the heart, breathing into the head, and slowly down. Now just the arms out to the side. And now just tipping. And now let's go into a wider riding horse. And now just our normal breathing, but just making sure that we really draw the sacrum down and under as we do the pulling in phase. So I'm drawing my hands in. You can think of breathing in or breathing out here. It doesn't really matter. Extending the spine. Flexing the spine. Here my legs are trying to draw this machine down. Feel the sacrum, the two sides of the sacrum radiating, pouring down the legs, into the hips and down the legs. Good idea if you've got a mirror to do this with a mirror to your side here, because it's difficult to tell often whether you're sticking your bum out or not. So here, I just really want to get my legs to draw me down. We want our sinking to be very active. It's not something that the legs are just reluctantly putting up with. They're actually making me sink. They're pulling me down towards the earth. Back to riding horse. You just want this feeling that your shoulders are really packing down into here. It feels as though your shoulders have almost become your hips, almost like this distance here has just shrunk to nothing. Going from leg to leg, but with the scooping of the empty leg. So just let yourself lean. Don't worry about that. So we want to feel the two minds, the full and empty. So obviously part of my mind is coming into this leg with my weight, but there's another part of my mind that's much more active that reaches out here in order to start the pull. I'm always of two minds. It's like one mind for my body and one mind for my spirit. So this is the body mind that's coming in here, and this is the spirit mind that's waking up here. So my spirit mind is always flitting around. Whenever you look at something with interest, your spirit is already there. It's outside your body, influencing your body. It's pulling your body towards it. part of my mind is already with the foot, but I want to pull in. So what I have to do is really extend like an imaginary leg from here up and then backwards like this. So it's not just me pulling my leg by bending it. I'm sinking into this foot, and I really imagine this tentacle that's come out. It's pulled me towards it, not by shrinking, but by extending back towards the other foot. Feel the version that's going on in the arms stemming from your mid-back. The version that's going on in the legs is stemming from the sacrum. And similarly, the same thing is happening in the head. So something is extending from this side of my occiput here. So the three centers are all active and they're all pretty much doing the same thing. Get down, but also pull the tail under. Tail comes under, shoulders pack down into the hips. Now let's try just a bit of backwards and forwards. The same idea here. Something is coming out here and then pushes this foot this way. And it's that draws me into the foot. And then I have to imagine this hole here opening up and swallowing whatever's in front of it. And that brings the other side of the body in. So it's just rollback, really. So I'm yielding this side of my body here, and that swings in the other side as an attack. I yield the right side of my body, that swings in the left side as an attack. So I have to get this, and I also have to get this. So when you open here, it similarly opens here in the shoulder. So we're used to the shoulder because we've done so much pushing hands. We just have to get it into the legs as well. Keep it continuous and smooth. and just keep it going so that the energy can come out and manifest. But the energy, the breath, is the bridge really between the technique, the body, and the mind. So all of these things that we practice, we're wanting them not just to train up the body, but to change the mind. Metanoia. We're changing heart and mind. And for that to happen, it has to get into the realm of energy. The other foot forwards. As I sink into this leg, it frees this side of my body so that this tentacle of energy can reach down from my sacrum here and start pulling me forwards by pushing the foot this way. I have to open this hole here, and then that will swing round the other side of my body. Lift the heel, if only in your mind. There's a lightness. As soon as you lift the heel, there's a lightness in that side of your body, even if the weight is in it. So the heel just pops up a little bit, and that starts me moving towards it. So like the spirit in the foot, in the empty foot, has to call to the body to come towards it. Feel the arms, elbows out, fingers coming towards each other, fingers in, elbows out, fingers in. It's the same with the legs, knees out, toes in. And it's the same here. There's a sense of really something expanding out from your temples, but also a sense of your eyes are really converging in order to focus in onto a point. The swinging tail. People don't like this, but it is important. When I was a kid, my father was endlessly in the garage, tinkering with his car. He had an old 1954 Riley, which was his pride and joy. I think he was largely there to get away from us and our mother. But I said to him once, "What are you doing in the garage?" He says, "I'm taking the car to pieces and cleaning all the parts so that when I put it back together, it will run more smoothly." So in a way, that's what we're trying to do with the body. We're just trying to become aware of all of its parts and get them loose relative to their neighbors so that energy can pass through. Like a Mexican wave in the stadium. If there's a group of rival supporters that don't want to get involved, they stick out like a sore thumb because it's like a blip in the energy wave that's going around. That's what we're trying to get rid of. So everything's cooperating, everything's working, but everything has its own little individuality, has its own spirit. Now let's just try some figures of eights with the arms. For a long time, this was our bread and butter, this exercise. Beginner's mind. Do it as though for the first time. That poem of Thomas Clarke, once again for the first time, morning. So it includes the swinging the hips, because here as I tip over this side, this hip is trying to swing upwards here. So basically the shoulder is trying to move towards the hip, and then the other side. Not just the shoulder dropping down towards the hip, but the hip is moving up towards the shoulder. Make sure you still have the possibility of really getting down. Knees out, toes in, elbows out, hands in. Temples out. You can also feel it like the listening, almost like your ears are going out on stalks, but the eyes are hooded. The eyes are closing in. Draw the belly in so that your tail is coming under a little bit. Feel the perineum, little tight strip underneath you. So let's try the form. Let's stand this way. And now let's try the posture that goes on from there. There's a blow coming in. You can think of it as a low fist or a high kick. So someone kicking to your groin or someone punching into your belly. This hand just comes down and blocks it. And then, so what would happen is you would just block it and then just flick it back again. Obviously, for the sake of the form, we slow everything down, make a meal of it. So I'm suspended off the foot. And then I just step forwards here. And then I yield into this foot. So I'm drawing down with the fist and intercepting, slapping with the left hand. And then I step with the left foot and come forwards to punch. Try it again. Step forwards, deflect downwards, intercept and punch. So my right hand is a fist, my left palm is open, and then I come forwards here. And as I'm coming into this foot, I just turn the waist this way, and that has to be sufficient to swing these two arms up and drag the other foot up. Back, 100% in the back foot, and then I come forwards. You can think of this as being a kick here, or you can just place it out and then just bring it down and turning. Again, I have to turn to the right to draw my right hand down and bring my left hand in front of me. And then I step here. Remember, we come forwards by reaching with the foot and doing this, but also by opening here. This bit here has got the quality of bringing this hand in, and this opening here has got the quality of opening the shoulder here. So two aspects of the yield. And then this just comes up, and it's quite low, it's not too high. If you imagine you've yielded to someone's arm here, then this fist would come out underneath their arm. So it would be pretty much invisible to them. And imagine you have an eye in the middle of your palm here, and that eye is looking at the fold of your elbow. So you're 70% in the front foot. Just make sure you don't get too much weight in the front foot. So I turn, make sure it's the first thing you do is turn. Here you don't so much. And then swinging everything round. Turning to bring this hand down, completing the turn to slap, stepping, so when you yield, there are basically two waist turns. If I'm going to yield with this hand, first of all, I want to extend it towards the person. I don't want to wait until they reach me. So that requires me to turn to the right if I'm using the left hand, just to extend this shoulder and hand. And then once I've made contact, I then open these holes and turn the other way to suck the person into these holes. It's especially the case on this punch. So let's try it again. So I go back. Yield here. That would require a little turn like this first, but it's very small here. But it's always there, and it just becomes a bit more like it's in your mind or in your heart. Here I open out before I draw the person in. It's like Leon used to say, if you want to catch the robber, you have to leave your window open. Once more. Yielding, striking, yielding and striking. Make sure you don't bring too much weight forwards. So the fist is flying forwards, but largely because this leg is pushing this hip backwards. And that gives it this twisting jerkiness, like a suddenness. The legs a little bit bent, relaxed across the sacrum. Really feel your tail just uncoiling and dropping down heavily. Feel the equivalent here, reaching up for the ceiling. Feel the dantian. Sort of breathing, tightening and releasing. And there's also like a figure of 8 going on inside it. So there's like all these different levels of activity. Feel the sacrum. Feel the figure of 8 inside the sacrum. So when the figure of 8 goes this way round, rather than this way round, it's basically sucking in at the ground. So if I have a figure of 8 going around my waist like this, it's drawing into its center and expelling out the back. So in my sacrum, I've got this figure of 8 going on. And that's just sucking at the ground and helping me connect. So the figure of 8 is a very sort of fertile concept. John just became obsessed with it. He would work on it all the time and he'd see them everywhere.